republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, I need a motion on the work session minutes for February the 20th.
Motion to adopt.
Have a vote to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
Just a second, let me count.
Got them?
7, 6. I need
All right,
5.
need a motion on the regular minutes for the meeting for the 20th.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
It's going to be 7 with 1 abstention. I need 2 to abstain.
Okay, got them? Got them?
It's going to be 6 with 1 abstention.
Okay. All right. Mr. Mayor, you're up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. As we're getting settled, I wanted to spend just a moment tonight to recap some of the good news things that have happened in Montgomery and to give you some facts relative to things that we see every day, but you might not have the opportunity to see as we go through our life here at the city. If you would give me the first slide, please. This is our revenue year to date. Obviously, we're up about 1.6% on the sales tax. We're up 4.8% on the lodging tax, 3.8 million up, 2.4 million on our gas tax. That all together is going to put us in the 2% range of increase in our revenue. And it's important to note that this is 5 months. You know, we think we just started the new fiscal year, but we've got October, November, December, January, and February. So we're trending in the right direction. We've closed our audit. The CAFR has been published, and we've got over 25 million in our reserves. And I think you'll see some other things when that CAFR is made available. Next slide. Building permits. This is always something you look at from a standpoint of wanting to make sure that you go increasing year to date. We had a really good year last year, had a good year the year before, but as you can see, we're almost $6 million increase in our building permit values. So that means that for the next 10, 12, 15 months, things will continue to be happening in Montgomery. Next. This is an important slide because while you can't read that, I want you to see the unemployment rate is at 3.3%. This slide just shows you that the employment has increased and the unemployment has decreased, almost full employment. That's the MSA. And the reason I show you the MSA is because we are the labor center, we are the economic center. 85+% of all jobs in the MSA are in fact in Montgomery. Next. Talk about the F-35. That's a culmination at the end of December, kind of a Christmas present. I know that hopefully all of you have seen this very fine piece that the advertiser did with the F-35, our next red tail fighter. But I wanted to kind of thumbnail some of the economic impact. There's going to be, the 70 million is not the annual impact, it's the capital impact, the capital expenditure, and it could go as high as 80, 85 million. We saved 1,400 jobs locally, but 4,000 jobs statewide. It's important because we've got units in Birmingham, the air refueling units up there. If we didn't have a flying mission in 5 or 6 years, that would be gone. And the 100 million is an ongoing economic impact. 70 million to 85 million on the on the capital, and then 100 million ongoing economic impact. But what's not up there is the technology impact. The impact that we're going to have with that sophistication of the weapon systems and the avionics. We're going to have individuals that can work on those, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on us. It's going to challenge us to get with the cyber, with our internet exchange, with our innovation depots and our coding academies, and all of that's in process. So it's going to pay big dividends for us for many years to come. Next. Public Works, we're looking at about 20 miles this year. We've got 12 done, 8 to go. Wares Ferry, Crampton Bowl updates, Atlanta Highway. There are a number of other projects that are been let for engineering. like Zelda Road and Street. Some others have actually been let for engineering. There's some public meetings. When you see a public meeting, you think, well, it's going to happen now. Well, you're 3 or 4 years away when the public meeting starts, but you got to start somewhere. And most of this is being done through ATRIP, which is a program with the state. They pay 80 and we pay 20%, which are big bucks, frankly. Just say Court Street, for instance. Court Street South, we're putting up about $800,000 in that particular project. And just to remind people, we did in fact go in and put a leveling surface on, because it's going to be another year before we're able to put asphalt down because of utility relocations. But now they are being relocated. AT&T is the last one to get done. Next. 3,800 to 4,400 calls answered by 311. For our citizens, that is the easiest, most efficient way to get your requests, your information, things in our system, because it's mechanized. Not only does it go to the appropriate department, it goes to the supervision, even goes to the city council and the mayor's office if things are not cleared in a certain period of time. Next. This is one that kind of tells that story, if I can get this to work. All right. This is through 311. Potholes repaired in 59% of the potholes that are reported to 311 get repaired in 7 days, 20% in 10 days. So that's 79% of all the pothole requests. This is just one. This is on our open data. You can go in and anybody can get this information. If it's not done in that near term, then you would start getting supervisory reports and even to the city council representative for a district if something's not done in a specified amount of time. Next. This is something that we're really proud of. In 2016, Wallet Hub, I think it was, ranked us as the best performing city in the state of Alabama. Milken came back last year and said, just came out in November, December timeframe, that Huntsville and Montgomery were both neck and neck as best performing cities, which is a tribute to our 2,500 employees that get up every day to pick up the garbage, to do the litter, to pave our streets, to protect our people, to put out our fires, to man our parks and rec and our libraries and those things. So we're excited about that, but this is one that we really are excited about. We were ranked #1 in high-tech growth last year, and we had an opportunity to hear somebody talk about Austin, Texas, Huntsville, Alabama, and Montgomery, Alabama in the same sentence with technology and where we're going, and that's really a tribute to the chamber and to military and also to our people in IT as we continue to go down the road with the internet exchange. Next. We in this room put out the clarion call to make sure that people knew that there was an election for education, knew it that it was by districts, knew that it was by parties, plus an independent. We had 23 candidates say that they're interested and to qualify to run for the school board. 2 have dropped out. We've got 21. And by comparison, in those elections that you've seen, only 8 qualified to run. So we're almost 3 times the number. And in the cases, we've got some good competitive races. And what we want is the candidate that cares the most about the kids and are willing to help educate them in the future would be elected. And that's going to be up to each individual candidate to run their own campaign and the voters to come and support whom they think is the best candidate. Next.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering, Mayor, you taking it upon yourself to put out the request candidate. That's political, I would think, and I didn't know we was in the business of being political.
We did not do that. It came from the young people. It also came from the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, but Mayor, when you think if you got the city names attached to it, all due respect, You know, that's what I say. If you got the city names to it, it seems that the city is in the business of recruiting people for political, and we are supposed to be non-political, I suppose. I know we got here by being running politically, but do you think that's ought to be a business of any government to solicit people to run for a particular?
The city did not recruit. We did not solicit the Chamber of Commerce. All we did was to use the platform of a press conference to articulate for some of the young people why they thought that there should be some changes. All we've done is make known the fact that there is going to be an election. It is going to be in June. You do have to run in a party, and you do have to run in a district, and it was up to them to make their wishes known and to qualify with the party. I don't even know who the 23 candidates are. I've not met with those candidates at all.
I'm not going to belabor the point, but you just said something, Mayor, that we said it needs to change, and that's political.
72% of the people surveyed said that there needed to be a change, and 72% said that it was the Board of Education that was responsible for the state of our school system.
Yeah, well, when I was coming up, about 95% of the people said they wanted me to sit at the back of the bus. That doesn't make it, that doesn't make it correct, Mayor, just because of percentage. I just don't want to be a part of, you know, I've tried, since I've been here, I don't vote on emotions. I'm emotional today. I just left a funeral. My childhood partner died, and maybe I am emotional.
So goes education, so goes the city of Montgomery. And if you want to sit there as a city council person and have our city go down because nobody wants to come to Montgomery, Alabama because of our school system, then so be it. I don't think that's the position of the people that have elected us.
I don't have anything else to say. Thank you.
Well, this is a good one to follow up on. There's headlines in the November edition of the Advertiser that says Montgomery was the least sinful city in Alabama. Now, that's a biggie, obviously, but when you read down what it incorporated, it incorporated the amount of alcohol we consume, which was the least in the state, also the amount of charitable contributions that we give. So we're going to claim the fact that we're the least sinful city in Alabama. Next. You know, we've had some issues relative to our youth task force. John Richardson chairs that. It's a multi-task group. They've been meeting for over a year now. And in addition to going into certain neighborhoods and having opportunities to meet with parents and kids, there are three things that are going to come out of all of that. On April 21st, the Samaritan Counseling Center is doing a Better Parenting for Brighter Futures Assembly and Expo. It's going to be at the multiplex. There's a lot of advertising. We announced that at a press conference last week, where we're asking and inviting all people that want to learn how to be a better parent to come to that. The kids that come, and they're welcome and invited, they will be entertained by some star athletes playing flag football and cheerleading and basketball and some of the other sports at Crampton Bow. This is going to be a great opportunity to learn how to be parenting. There'll be 20 or so organizations there. Those organizations will be able to do follow-up if the parents come and register with any of those organizations. Next slide. In addition to that, at the farmers market on April 4th, we're asking a myriad of pastors, as a matter of fact, everyone that we can find, to come to a breakfast where we will just encourage them to be mentors, to put a stake in the ground where their church is, and to go out a block, 2 blocks, 5 blocks, whatever they're comfortable with, survey that neighborhood and understand where the kids are that need parental guidance, need mentorship, need somebody to look up to. You would hope it would be the parents, and if that parent or parents are not available, then to ask those pastors through their church to take mentoring and just have some person that they can love on, that person can come to when they need some help. The next one is also a conflict resolution. We're not ready for that one. The next one's going to be something that Chief Finley is doing in late March. I think it is March the 29th. Yeah, March 29th at the multiplex. We're going to have several hundred kids, both middle school and high school, come to a conflict resolution seminar. We did this about 4 years ago successfully, and we want to try to continue that. And this won't be a one and done. We'll continue to do that as much as we can. Now, the next slide is something that Judge Price started when he came on board. One of the main reasons he did come on board was to have a small and minority business initiative. He's been very successful in leading that. Last week we had a reception for them, and we had lots of people. I think this is an individual that got one of the awards, and Judge Price has been leading that, and it really is an opportunity for not only the city projects, but private sector projects. If you look up and down Dexter Avenue, you'll see a high percentage of those projects having 25 to 30% minority participation. Going. Morgan Library, this is a result of some monies that the city and the county put together to not only renovate, to put new roofs on, new elevators on, but to change the pattern of flow there, new air conditioner, and it's closed right now for renovation, and I think they're going to open sometimes around mid-April. Something we're going to be very proud of. It's going to be computer heavy for our kids that need computers. If you go there before they closed anytime, you would see not a computer available and people standing in line to get that. So I think we're going to about double the number of computers that we have available to them. Next. This is the museum, the sculpture garden. This is almost exclusively being done by private sector. It's about a $4 million project. It's going to be a wonderful addition to our museum, which is already very good. Ed Bridges is the interim, and he's doing a great job. But this sculpture garden is going to give a new opportunity for people that hadn't been in a while to go see some other things that are going to be out there. It's going to be something we're going to be really proud of, and it's going to enhance the Blount Cultural Park. Dawn Hathcock and her group have these as prospects. They're working 71 events, which would represent 65,000 attendees, almost 60,000 hotel nights with almost a $16 million economic impact. We're not going to get them all, but we're going to get our fair share. And I think I've already told you, we haven't seen the February numbers yet, but in January, we're back on top, leading in the percent occupancy in the state of Alabama. And over the next 3 months, we're going to have several 100,000 people coming to Montgomery to experience some of the new venues that are coming online and some of the sports venues that we know are coming. Along the way, in July, we've got a big group coming to pitch to cornholes. I wish I could come up with another name for that, but that's what it's called. It's the cornhole pitching contest, not dissimilar to the horseshoe pitching that we had a couple of years ago. Next. Good kudos to the airport authority. They really have been working over the last few years. We've got the announcement of VA Airlines going to Orlando for $99 each way. The beauty of that is it's returning here, and so some of the Orlando money can come to Montgomery. American launches that flight to Reagan National in June of this year. I think it's June 6th or June 7th. That's going to be very, very important to continue to get military back and forth from and business back and forth. And then American added a third flight it will add a third flight to Dallas in April. All of these flights come because of the load factors that are beginning to fly out of here. And if we're going to continue this and we're going to be able to get more, we got to have people sitting in those seats when the flights take off. Next. Last night, we opened the Stingray exhibit, about an $800,000 project that's been a partnership between the public and private sector. A lot of the fundraising over the last several years went into that. Doug Good, who is retiring, mid-month. He had this vision a number of years ago, and he's led the effort to bring that in. We did have it last night. You can feed them, you can pet them. We only have 2 in there today because we don't want to crowd it up, but we have another 18 or 20 that'll be coming. It'll be a nice addition, and today we start fundraising for the reptile exhibit, which will be in the next year or 2. Next. This is a biggie, 50 trip ideas for escaping spring breakers. So if you don't want to escape spring breakers, come to Montgomery, Alabama. It's going to be a good opportunity. We were in the same feature as Milan and Sydney, Australia. So anytime you can be in that category, you're in pretty good shape. Next. You've seen this before. Dawn talked about it under Lovely Planet. Number 7, which is the, aside from Alaska, is the only thing in the United States, Montgomery, Alabama, and Memphis, Tennessee. I ran into some folks this week that was walking the streets of Montgomery, and they're here from California. They've heard about what's going on in Montgomery. They wanted to see the South, and so they came, and they're on their way to Atlanta. So we're getting those all the time. And they see about us in the various publications. Next one. This is the Civil Rights Trail. There are 14 states. We're trying to be designated as the beginning of the trail. As you can see, we have the most attractions any other city on the trail. Keep going. This is the Legacy Museum and also the Memorial to Peace and Justice. That will be opening the 26th, 27th of April. We're expecting several thousand, maybe as many as 10,000 people here for that. It's going to be a very nice 3-day affair, and it will be done first class. I don't know whether you saw the Oscars, but Brian Stevenson, who's head of EGI, was actually on the Oscars when Common sang his song. There were 8 spotlights on individuals, and Brian was one of the individuals. Pretty soon you'll get some releases from them who the performing stars are, but they're people that you'd pay many big bucks to go see. Next. And this is the one that New York Times gave us. We've already talked about this. They had 52 destinations in the world needed to be visited in 2018. We were number 49, but more importantly, there were only 9 in the United States of America. So we're one of 9 in the United States of America, and we're number 1 in the state of Alabama. So we're really proud of that. A lot of good things going on. Montgomery's got some momentum. It's thanks to the work that you guys have done in approving budgets and economic development projects and just being responsive and selling Montgomery. The last thing I want to talk about is not a slide, but it's an opportunity that we've not taken advantage of in the last 50 years. We've not had a comprehensive plan since, I think, 62 or 63. Robert Smith is at the helm leading that. We have hired a group called Planning Next. They made a presentation to us. There were several people that wanted to do it. They did some really good work in Mobile. They've been hired, and now we're in the process of forming committees as well as moving forward. Robert, if you would come, where are you, Robert? And talk about really the process, but more importantly, what the outcome is, because this is going to be about a 12 or 15-month process, but the outcome is the important thing. Robert?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor said, the City of Montgomery has not had a comprehensive plan update in about 55 years. 1963 was the actual last time that one was updated, and there was a lot of things going on in Montgomery in 1963. Number one, I was not around at that point in time, wasn't even thought about, but Montgomery was a different place then. So what we've basically done is, as the Mayor said, engaged a world-class planning firm by the name of Planning Next. They're based in Columbus, Ohio, and they're going to assist us with this effort in updating the city's comprehensive plan. The plan process, this plan will be called Envision Montgomery 2040. If you recall the process that Lynn Bashir led over the course of the last 17 years, Envision 2020, this kind of lends itself to that Envision name, continued basically carrying on with the comprehensive plan for the city of Montgomery. As the mayor said, a comprehensive plan is basically a long-term guide for future physical development of the city that basically considers the input of all of our citizens and businesses and stakeholders. And it also includes recommendations for land use, community design, connectivity, open space, recreation areas, cultural and historic resources, infrastructure, and economic development. Basically looks at what we want to be over the next 20 to 30 years. Again, a comprehensive plan, it's all about planning for that future. It'll serve as a guide for development all over the city. So we will cover every square inch within the city of Montgomery. So areas that we have not touched with an actual plan will actually get a whole lot of attention in analyzing what those strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and issues are, and we will actually come up with a plan of action for tackling those particular issues over the course of time. So this will be about a 12 to 15 month process. Going to be really intense. So we're asking everybody, all citizens, all 206,000 people within the city of Montgomery to join in with us when that time comes and get involved. So again, we've had that steering committee initial kickoff meeting with some key institutional and business leaders, and we will be coming with a grand, very grand public meeting in about a month or so. So stay tuned, and that website address is envisionmontgomery2040.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. You through, Mayor? Okay. Any special committee reports?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
No, sir, but I have a question that I think Councilman Larkin had brought up, how some department heads come and speak to us sometimes. Can we, Mr. Jenright, can we have maybe the 911 people come explain to us exactly how calls are handled, how many people they have, that sort of stuff? Can that be a department that could maybe come speak to us in 2 weeks?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a group of LAMP students here tonight we'd like to recognize and let them come forward. Mr. Burkett?
Yes. Okay,
Please
Will.
come forward, okay?
I'll come forward. These students are from Lamp High School. Everybody get up. Let's go, let's go. Come on up. Okay, these students have pledged to assist us with educating and monitoring and also supervising as well as mentoring so our youth in West Montgomery from the old Lamp High School. But now we know that they are placed in the Montgomery Mall, but they still want to dedicate their time and their patience to help facilitate some type of mentoring program over the entire summer. And they chose to work in my district, in my area. They are all seniors at Lamp High School, but without further ado, I would like Will, who's the spokesperson, to go ahead and explain to the council and to the audience what are your plans and what in particular do you plan to do?
Good evening. Just like Councilman Burkett.
State your name.
Oh, my name is Will Bannister. I'm a senior at Lamp High School, and every year our seniors do a project called Giving Back, where we look at the community of Montgomery, and we build a project on what we want to fix and the difference we want to see in Montgomery as we take our next steps in our lives. And as a group, we kind of came together and we looked at our communities first, and then as youth, we looked at a lot of the problems we were seeing in Montgomery and that other youth have expressed. In recent articles, we've seen athletes who talk about all they want to do is leave. A lot of people have that same attitude, and we really wanted to change that because I'm not a Montgomery native, and I came here 8 years ago, and Montgomery has been my home. And so I want to build up Montgomery and see it, and we wanted to start with communities and community centers, and that's why we specifically started with the Loveless one, and we want to implement new programs through it because we feel like the resources right now aren't really being used to its optimization or optimal sources. And we want to implement more community togetherness by offering these youth programs because that's one thing we see is really missing from Montgomery. And
My name is Alea Washington. I'm also a senior at Lamp High School. And as Will was saying, we were seeing that youth need something to do. And with the summer program, as Mr. Burkett was speaking of earlier, we would like to see the programs that the Loveless Center already have that are just for seniors be merged for the youth, such as sewing classes, they have games, they have movie nights. But Mr. Burkett really enforced the idea that we need mentoring, we need teaching, and that was also one of our main goals, because we need a foundation starting with the youth to build up the community. And if we start the foundation with the younger children, and then even the children, kids our age, we find a reason to come back and to make Montgomery better.
And we really see the priority in this right now is Montgomery's kind of in this, I guess, turning point. You know, we see a lot of the developments that are happening, and we see Montgomery coming in this new light. And we really want the reputation of Montgomery to be upheld in this new light. And we think that starts with our generation, our youth, our kids, and educating them and giving them new programs to start after school. And we really feel like this is the responsibility of the community and of the local government to kind of step in to also build these relationships.
City Council, you've just seen why Lamp High School is ranked #1 in the state of Alabama.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor, Mr. Burkett, and to you young people, I would just like to encourage you to continue what you are doing. This is the future of Montgomery. You are vital to the success of the future of this city. We have, within the last couple of weeks, seen what young people will do. There is a passage in the Bible. Can you help me, Mr. Sankey? When it talks about, and the children will lead us, and that youth will take leadership and really make a difference. I think that all of us, if we are well-intentioned, good, contributing citizens to the state of Alabama, to this city, to this country, we should all be heartened by the display of insightfulness, articulateness, intelligence that has been displayed by these children in Parkland, Florida. And I am hopeful, and in fact I am convinced, that these children will change the debate about assault weapons, about if you want to term it as gun control or whatever you want to call it. But these children will achieve heights that their elders have not been able to achieve. And they will make a difference for young people going forward, not only in Parkland, Florida, but in the entire United States of America. And you are taking a page with this effort, with this initiative that you are adopting for Loveless Community Center. You are taking a page from the paradigm which these youth in Parkland, Florida is providing for us. And I encourage you to pay attention to them, to listen to them, to model yourselves after them, to find a way to participate in the activities which they are planning for the future, the March on Washington, the appearance in Washington. I encourage not just LAMP students, but students from all over the city of Montgomery to become involved in what is going to be a movement that's going to change the face of America. I thank you all.
Thank you.
And for that, I would like to add one other thing. They're willing and open and able to work with all parents, any parents necessary, any parents that has shared the same ideal that they share. We'll be back in touch with you, and I'll see you guys on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right. On our agenda for public communication on the roster agenda items, Remind you of the 3-minute limit. Mr. Boyd, you're first.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is William Boyd. I'm speaking on the item on the agenda number 1. You know, I was in Selma, Alabama for the entire weekend for the annual Jubilee bread crossing, and I was at one of the churches, and they was talking about why do we continue to turn back the hands of time. I was at the worst section this afternoon. I was kind of discouraged on some of the stuff that I heard from one of the council person. Charnel Mitchell versus the city of Montgomery is one of the plaintiffs who requested that Judge Les Hayes not continue to practice in that courtroom over there. She called me this morning when she heard the news that the city council may be in the process of putting him back. Speaking on her behalf and many other concerned citizens, people who are not here today, but they are here in spirit via Facebook, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm asking the city, I'm asking not only the blacks, but the whites. This is not a black and white thing, but why turn back the hands of time? Why not go, move forward, get another judge? Judge, let's have tainted this city. We all know it. I heard some of the council come up with all types of ways that they can defend this judge to put him back on the council, to put him back on the bench. Let that sore stay in the past. I'm speaking on the behalf of myself and others who asked me to speak to please don't turn back the hands of time. All the hard work, State Representative Thabit Clammy, Karen Jones, myself, Jamel Brown, beating the streets to help those people who have been caught in this dilemma. $14 million worth of fines and forfeit from this court, from this sitting judge, and he's already back on the bench from what I'm hearing. So I'm just saying, please, I know Fred Baird, I'm quite sure you're gonna take a stand. But I'm asking the other council, do the right thing and say no.
Karen Jones.
I was here February the 6th talking about this issue, this very same issue, because time's up. January 31st, Lester Hangum Hayes' term was up as a judge. Now, I want to know the validity of his rulings and motions and things that he's ruled on while his term has been expired. That seems like it is illegal because he was not reappointed and has not been reappointed. So I'm trying to figure out how is it that he's been back on the bench and you all have violated Section 17-3 on this because you should have reappointed him by now. And we do know that in the 100-page complaint file that Hayes was found guilty on 7 ethical charges. And so if you all know that the mayor, everybody works at the pleasure of the mayor and the pervasiveness of that, we know that we can no longer allow a lawless mayor who colludes to such illegal activities to keep a lawless judge on the bench who admitted he pleaded guilty to violating the very laws that he was sworn to uphold. Therefore, when we know that they violate the law, and he has since February 1st to now, and I don't know how and when this subhumanoid, devil, illegal, corrupt, white racist mayor who continues to do what he wants to do, as in the article in which Josh Moon wrote, that you rehired him and he had to pay that money back because it was illegal. So whenever Todd Strange give y'all balls back so y'all can act like y'all understand what's going on and talk about it, you all need to do so. He's emasculated all of you all and continues to engage in injustices against the least of these black people, poor people in this city. And there's no way you city councilmen don't know that. You have a duty to investigate these agencies and departments. You have a duty to put this chump in place. And if you all continue to be punked about it, and you're supposed to be a civil rights attorney, and you're not saying anything, but because it's an election year, you want to say something.
No.
You're not my dad. Don't get the point. No, you don't get to do that. It's freedom of speech. Yeah, the time is up for all of y'all. And the time is up for this white supremacist and you white supremacists who keep him doing illegal acts.
Mayor. Mary Sims, next up. Mary Sims.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. I'm here representing my godmother, Mary Sims. Back in January, she had to go and pay for abatement of some property, Section 6. And this is her property line, if I may.
Let me see.
Other section. And she ended up having to pay $228 for the property that was not hers.
You need to appeal that, Mayor. You're going to have one. Just appeal it to them. They'll take Mr. Carson in the back room. Back will talk to you, okay? Willie Knight, please. Thank you.
To kind of piggyback off of Ms. Jones, for some reason, there's a problem with judges here in this state. Patricia Warner, Anita Kelly, and now Les Hayes. Now, Patricia Warner was removed for corruption. Anita Kelly is currently under investigation and she'll probably will be removed for corruption. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Les Hayes was at the center of the reason why we had to have this amnesty program in the first place, where folks were they were being placed in jail, and for those that were unable to pay fines, they weren't given any other options but to be locked up for senseless crimes. You know, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the same judge that's got this class action lawsuit that State House Representative Thad McClammy them have against the city. And you mean to tell me that you guys can sit there with a clear conscience and put this man right back in the same position that he was in the first place? I can see if he had one or two cases that might have had some problems, but this man had years, not hundreds, but years of the same complaints. I have 5 kids, and I'll take my seat. I have 5 kids. If all of my kids complained about the same person and their complaint was the same, it's not the 5 kids, it's the one person. So what I'm having a hard time understanding, and everybody up here are high school graduates and college educated to a certain degree, how can everybody in one city have a problem with the same person, and you college educated, Greek educated men put the same problem back in the same place expecting a different result? Now, I'm not with the begging games. You do what you have to do, but I'm going to be a thorn in every last one of your sides. I know every last one of y'all seats are coming up next year. And this is the type of stuff that the public needs to know. I know some of you don't care, but you know what? You know, you've underestimated the power of the people. You have people that are unable to be here. Like Boyd said, and I don't always agree with Boyd nor Ms. Jones, but you got multiple people with the same complaint. and you guys it seems like you guys are ignoring the people. I don't know if he has you paid off. I don't know if you guys owe him any favors. I really don't know. But why would you continue to send the same problem back into the same place, expecting something different? Take your time.
Chris Miles, please.
My name is Chris Miles. I'm going to piggyback off of what Mr. Boyd said, Karen Jones, and Willie Knight. We don't always get along with each other, but we came out today because of this issue. I went live on Facebook, and I'm standing as a man here to tell everybody in here today, if you put Les Hayes back in there, you all know about the Montgomery bus boycott, okay? I think everybody know how it crippled the city. I got right at 40,000 followers on social media, okay? Bottom line is, I'm telling the white and black city councilmen here and everybody in this thing here, most of y'all know me from calling Kevin Elkins' show, okay? But the bottom line is, if you put this man back here, back in office, it is my intent to call a boycott against the city of Montgomery. And unlike Martin Luther King, because I didn't agree with his philosophy, I'm not coming up off of it. I am not coming up off of it. It is my intent, it will be my intent to break the backbone of this city. Mayor Todd Strange just showed all of these various things that you all have going on in the city of Montgomery. My thing is to decipher all of the money out of the city. Now, Boy and them can get on here and plead and all this stuff. One thing I know that moves is money. What the so-called white man respects is money. I understand that. You understand? So you can play games you want to, put them on there. Like they said, this man brought in $14 million off the back of poor black people. And all of you sit there, including the black city councilman, y'all cool with that. But I'm not cool with it. I pray to a God that can do miracles. And the bottom line is, I'm down here standing as a man today with Mr. Boyd, Karen Jones, Willie Knight, because we're the ones that came up. I don't see nobody else that's standing up down here. You all put this man back in here, Mayor Todd Strange, I promise you a boycott will be immediately against the city, and I'm going social. Every day, the four of us are going to be on social media calling for people not to buy not a piece of bubble gum from out of the city of Montgomery. This is not a game, and we're sick of the politics. Now, let me say this. I got two more other things I want to say. The city of Montgomery, to show you the corruptness of this city, a friend of mine that I grew up in a neighborhood by the name of Greg Gunn was murdered. You guys still have the guy that murdered him. He was charged with murder on payroll. That's not right. Another friend of mine has a building over here on Highland Avenue. This man's building is decaying today. He don't want to open a club. I'm talking about Squirrel Thomas. He don't want to open a club up. He don't want a liquor license. Okay? Young black people today, and I'm the first to say, they don't know how to act. But the man should be able to do something. He should be able to do something with his building. So play with me and find out how serious Chris Miles is.
Phyllis Hall.
Good evening, Councilman, Mayor. And I think that you can tell that the passions are running high concerning item number 1, resolution of reappointing Les Hayes as a municipal judge in the city of Montgomery. And according to the news outlets that all of us have been reading, we can all admit that he was found guilty, and he pled guilty to ethics charge violation, that he jailed poor people for significantly longer times for punishment because they could not pay their fines. He treated the offenders, according to one article, with disrespect and did not allow the offenders a full or fair hearing. He delegated the judicial functions out to a private company, to someone who has been trained in law. That's his specialty. He violated every principle, and now we want to put him before us again. That is such an effrontery to us as the citizens out here. And it's almost like we're willing to marginalize a group of poor people, but yet we can keep restoring and giving privileges to those who know better. And I would have to hazard to say, for all the many people who've gone to jail and be punished, how many of their lives have been restored to that point of disruption that he caused? Have we gone and asked them what can we do to restore their lives also? Have you made an amends to them? At that point that they were jailed, did we try to figure out what happened? Did their lives becoming more encumbered because of what Les Hayes did? So I think here we're looking at what's fair. And regardless of race, ethnicity, male, female, we all know what's fair. We were taught that in kindergarten. And according to just what I just saw about us being quote unquote least sinful, we know what this was wrong. So let's stand and let's just be just here. He is not deserving of our forgiveness. We can be forgiven, but he's not for us to have put back before the same people that he caused a disruption in their lives. And we're saying this is okay. It's not fair. It is not ethical. And until we restore their lives, we shouldn't be having this conversation about restoring him to a bench where he's given the same opportunity again. Do you all give everyone the same forgiveness and restoration? So let's do restoration recovery everywhere, or let's do it nowhere.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, first item.
Mr. President, item 1, resolution
Looks like Mr. Bell
reporting.
has a comment.
I mean, there's been some grave allegations here. And I think it would be remiss, we'd be remiss if somebody from the city doesn't address some of these issues. Now, let me make it very clear. I don't think, it's my position that a person votes the way he or she wants to. And I don't think that we ought to vote based on the fact that we are going to be afraid to be reelected. Be reelected or not reelected. We should vote what is the best interest of the residents, the best interest of our district, not persuaded. I'm not going to be personal or political, and that is the way I'm going to vote. But there are, whether you disagree with them or not, there are some grave allegations here. And I think that we should come and address these issues, because it's not the impropriety, it's the appearance of impropriety. And whether these speakers are right or wrong, that issue may be addressed, and maybe I may be out of order because I was not here to work session this evening.
Someone's going to address it. I think we're doing a work session. I brought it up too. Whether we agree or not, once again, those are some grave allegations, and I think they should be addressed. And I think due to the passions that Phyllis Harvey Hall mentioned, that I think it warrants that. And then, of course, we can make our decision accordingly. There are some things that we've been privy to here, City Council, some of the things we heard in private session that, of course, could not be mentioned in the public due to the fact that there's ongoing investigation or case. But we make our decision based on all of that information. However, I understand that there are a lot of articles going on, a lot of Facebook posts and things of that nature that only get one side. But when we make our decision, we have to look at everything. But I do think, with all that said, and I believe someone is going to address some of those concerns, and at least those things that they can reveal to the public, because there are still some open cases. But I do think the people should hear our side.
Judge Milk, you want to add it?
Okay.
The head of the city court's here.
Well, I guess she's going to bring up that number 1, and then you can yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If you would like for our attorney to talk about the lawsuit, the status, and talk about what she can, more than happy to do that. Judge Milton Westry, who is in fact the presiding judge, is here. If you have questions of him, more than happy to do that. Les Hayes, as well as the other judges, David Vickers and Virgil Ford, are under his supervision. He does not report to the city council. He doesn't report to the mayor's office. He is, in fact, the presiding judge of the municipal court.
Well, if we can hear from both of them, that'd be fine. I think.
Kim, you want to go first?
Speak first.
Yes, as I said in the work session, basically just a background is that probably it's around 2013 or 2014, there was lawsuits filed against the city in the municipal court, and Judge Hayes was at that point the presiding judge, And he worked with the parties that were involved in it to mediate it and settle it, and they implemented the plan that's currently in place in municipal court today. There's been several cities around the state that have been sued. There were cities around the nation that were involved with the same private probation company. There were attorney general opinions that said that that was permissible. So the bottom line is there's an Alabama rule that says that before the plaintiffs were people that had come before the court on tickets multiple times, and the tickets were commuted, which was a process that had been done for many, many years in municipal court by all the judges. As I told you at the work session, there were some plaintiffs that thought that Judge Hayes had handled their case when it was not Judge Hayes, but the problem was the interpretation of the word inquiry in the rules of criminal procedure, and the lawsuit challenged the inquiry that the judges were having in municipal court because they said it needed to be more of a full-blown due process hearing as opposed to somebody asking a defendant, why have you not paid your tickets? And making an inquiry that way. Based on that, we have implemented a plan to try to accommodate anybody's inability to pay, and they have the option of paying $25 a month or doing community service. There are 3 pending lawsuits right now that are similar, and so we're still in litigation over it. There are several other cities that are involved with us in joint defense. So I understand that this is before the council. I just want you to know that this was not Montgomery only. I mean, it's been challenged. So not that makes it better or worse or anything else, but it was not a standard, but it was done within the municipal courts throughout the state and across the country.
So the question is, were there several other judges that did the exact same thing?
Yes.
So were all of them also suspended?
No, but and not just the recent judges. I mean, it's something that's kind of been done there for I mean, my recollection from practicing down there was, longer than the current administration, but I haven't been a defense attorney down there in a long time, so.
Okay, it's been stated that Judge Hayes was the one that implemented the system. Was he the one that started it, or was there someone else that actually started it?
He did not start that system.
So basically, it was already in place, and then he just operated within that system.
He was there as the presiding judge when the private probation company, JCS, came into effect. There was another probation company that we used prior to that, because we've never been able to afford probation officers necessarily. So this was a different company that came in 2009, I think, but he didn't start any of the practices of the inquiries or anything like that. I mean, that's things that have been in municipal court for a while.
Also, it was stated that he was solely responsible for $14 to $16 million. Was he, Judge Hayes, by himself solely responsible for $16 million, or was it the whole system as a whole?
I think Ken Nixon can address that better. The way the city of Montgomery reported the tickets that we had was different than some of the other municipalities that were reporting that we were compared to. I think that Ken can clear that up, because that's not how I was doing it. But it was, I mean, we didn't have 14 million. There was a difference in the way that we reported.
Can Ken
Well,
tell
and
us
the
that?
reason why I'm asking the
Basically,
question is not,
most of
all of this has been attributed to Judge Hayes. I just need to make sure that, if that's the case, then it's to address
he did not
some of
start.
the concerns that Lester Hayes was primarily responsible for $16 million. Therefore, he's unworthy to be back on.
Absolutely not. It was a part of the whole system. What we were doing was reporting the gross amount that went through. Other cities were reporting the net amount. We've changed that many years ago, and so we know that of all the monies that go through any court, municipal court, about 70% go elsewhere. And what we were doing in our accounting in years past, we were reporting the gross, and then we were distributing to get to a net. Our net was not dissimilar to any of the others, but what is shown in our records was the gross amount collected.
Okay, whatever the net
Other
is,
cities,
was Lester Hayes the only one collecting?
No.
it?
No, it's
Okay,
been all the
I'm trying to
judges.
get to that because
It's been all the
there are
judges.
judges now that never did get affected. So we're just trying to figure out how much of it is contributed to him. That's all.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Now what I'm saying is, Lester Hayes is the one that's up to, question right now. I just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
he was the presiding
Was it attributed to
judge.
him? Was he totally different than the rest, or do the rest need to be suspended? That's what I'm getting.
Went to 4 judges at all times?
No. We just got 4 judges within the last few years.
Okay, with 3 then, wasn't there?
There were 3.
3 back in the day.
I want to make sure I'm answering the right question. What question would you like me to answer,
Well, what I was
Councilman
saying
Green?
was, we're trying to get down, I know the allegation was that Lester Hayes was responsible for generating through this program $16 million.
Councilman Green, 1 year, I don't recall the exact year, I don't have all the financial data in front of me, there was 1 year of approximately $14 million in gross receipts.
Attributed to Lester Hayes?
No, that's entirety through all the judges.
Can we get?
I can't hear. She's
No, go ahead,
had
go
her
ahead.
time to talk. If she can't be
We don't need any
orderly,
more
can we
conversation.
remove her?
And
One person at a time.
Council, it was several months ago when the mayor had different departments starting to present activities going on in each department. That's one of the things I presented to this council. It simply broke down a court cost, $155 court cost for a traffic citation. It showed where each piece of that went to those different state agencies. What we reported on our gross receipts on the combined financial statement was the gross receipt. There was another expense line item that was in the financial statement that would have offset that to get to the net number. Several years ago, when we converted to reporting net, I don't know if you remember the council, why has the revenues gone down so much, or the projected revenues? And then that's when we explained to you that those line items were combined so it would be reflective, so it could be compared properly to the other cities if it were looked at.
So the real number, if I'm correct, the real number, if you refer to 14 million, we only really got about 40% of that. The rest of it went to the state court system or other places, right?
It went to about 15, 16 different line
Okay,
items.
but it didn't go to Montgomery.
The general fund, I think, gets $27.50 out of each court, because I might be off on
Okay,
that, but I
but-
think that's it.
Rough numbers of the 14 million, the city retains probably about 40% of it.
Less. Less.
Actually,
Or
the
less.
city, about a third to the general fund, about a third to the corrections fund. The rest goes to other agencies.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to get to is the sticking point, which is Les Hayes. And what I'm trying to find out is that did Les Hayes do anything other than what was standard practice? Because right now, the point is that Les Hayes exceeded and did more gross negligence than the other. In other words, if it was just standard practice with everybody throughout the state and basically throughout the country, what I'm understanding.
Well, Councilman Green, before I was the court administrator, I served as a prosecutor from about approximately 2003 to approximately 2007, practicing in the Montgomery Municipal Court. I stood before Judge Hayes, Judge Henley, Judge Knight, and Judge Massey. Every one of them conducted commutes in the same or similar fashion.
Okay, great. Because what we're trying to do is address some of the allegations as it pertains to Les Hayes so that everyone would understand how do we come to our decision. That's all.
I want to, may I ask a question?
Bell?
Man, there's,
Well, I would like to get the judge.
there's an allegation that Judge Hayes was put back on the bench without our appointing him. Judge Hayes was he suspended for 18 months?
11 months, sir.
11 months. And so I guess we need to address the issue that after he was suspended, he was placed back in his position as a judge?
That's correct.
To finish
Approximately
the term.
October.
Okay.
October 1, I believe.
And so now his term has expired, or will be expiring?
It has expired.
January 31st, it expired.
Let me talk to him. It has expired or will be expiring?
It has expired.
And so you're coming back and asking us Now, to reappoint him, the mayor has made a recommendation. One other question, let me ask you. Now, during the time that Judge Hayes was out, he was the presiding judge, or what we call the chief judge, the presiding judge.
At the time he was out?
Yeah, when he left, he was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he was.
So when he came back and went on the bench as a judge, because Judge Westry is the presiding judge now. As far as the pay was concerned, was he paid the same pay as the presiding judge, or was he paid as an associate judge?
When Judge Hayes returned,
yes,
he was paid as an associate judge.
I mean, does the current judge have anything to say? I would like to hear from him.
Yeah, one more.
Judge Westry,
He served 11 months.
Hold it, nobody in the audience. You're through.
He served an 11-month suspension.
11-month suspension.
Was that part of an agreement?
Part of the settlement agreement,
Part
yes.
of the agreement was upon the expiration of that 11 months, he could go back on the bench?
Well, sir, he was suspended for those 11 months. He did not practice or grace.
But he wasn't terminated.
No,
part of the
he was
agreement
not.
is just,
He was
you
not.
got to sit off.
One person at a time. Talk. We don't, hey, if you're gonna continue to talk, I'm gonna have you moved, okay? We don't need you talking in now, right now. We got work to do. Okay, anybody got another question?
Yeah, I would like to listen to it.
All right, let Judge Wesley talk.
Good evening, everybody. Councilman, Mayor, and Kim. One of the things that my dad, who was a Baptist minister up until the time that he died, was to tell the truth. And regardless of whether some of you like me after tonight, you know, it's really not of any concern because I have to speak the truth. One of the truths is that I came to this city in 1992 as an assistant district attorney, served there 3 years, went to the AG's office, served 2 years with them, and then I practiced with Thomas Means and Gillis for about 1.5 years and started my own practice in 1997. Now, distinguished councilmen have been asking the question of whether Judge Les Hayes initiated the policy of commutation of tickets into jail terms. I am here, and I would put my hand on the Bible to tell you that that did not start with Judge Hayes. That started prior to Judge Hayes with the other judges, and I can't tell you the origin of it all, who was the original judge, but I can tell you honestly, and before God, who governs all proceedings in this world, that Judge Hayes did not initiate that. I used to have clients that I would represent at the city who were commuted. And that was prior to Judge Hayes becoming a judge down there. Now, Judge Hayes started as a judge in 2000. And the reason why I know all of the history of this, because the mayor at that time, Mayor Bright, appointed me as one of the public defenders. I served 12 years as a public defender. And I will tell you with all honesty that every judge that was down there from the time I served as a public defender up to the time that I became a judge commuted some citizens because of non-payment of tickets. The procedure was that the judges would ask questions about why it is that a particular citizen did not pay their tickets, and then based on the responses and based on their experience as judges, they would decide whether or not that individual would be commuted to jail. Now, it wasn't a situation where they had to serve the entire amount of the tickets that they had accumulated. What the judges all did, and this is speaking from my service as a public defender for this great city, is that the judges would say, I am commuting you to jail. I am going to allocate $25 a day for the amount of tickets that you have accumulated.
That's a lot, Judge.
And from that point forward, what they would do is they say, however, if you can come up with this amount as good faith, what we will do is we will release you, and then we're going to try to work with you payment-wise until all has been paid off. And that is the God's honest truth. I don't care whether you like it or not. That is the truth.
No, it's not.
All right. And so that went on. If a citizen who was jailed decided to work in the jail, for instance, they were cook or they were work on the grounds voluntarily, they will be allocated $50 per day. Now, when the AOC went up with their fees as far as court costs and what have you, then the amount that was allocated for the individuals went up. It went from $25 to $50 per day. And if you decided to work on the outside, helping the officers or what have you, they were earning $75 per day. But they still could get out with the payment of X amount of dollars depending on what the judge allocated, given the facts that were in front of them and the observations they made about that citizen's ability to pay. Now, that's the truth of the matter, and if anyone were to research it, that is what they would find. Now, there have been a lot of changes because of the lawsuits that Attorney Fail has indicated. And those changes you may or may not be aware of. But we now have payment plans. We now do the community service. And then I have personally indicated to the citizens that if there's any way that I can help them, that's what I'm going to do. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. My parents were working class folks and whatever. And I grew up in a very poor neighborhood, Carver's Court in Mobile, Alabama. And I'm telling you that since I was a public defender and now for the last 5.5 years serving as one of your judges, I am very sensitive to the plight of the least of these. And I have to give an account because I got children and I know that the sins of the father are visited upon the son. And y'all have to excuse me, but this is my dad coming through. And I am sensitive to the young people that come before me. I try to work with them. Some of you know the efforts that I've made. But I have to tell the council the truth and you citizens the truth. What people are allocating towards Judge Hayes, it didn't start with him. He was following what has always been in place and everything. And as soon as we all discovered, because I have commuted some people too, when we discovered that there was a better way to do it, we implemented that in the practices of the city court, and we've been doing it ever since. And my personal policy is that if we can help you, if we can keep you out of jail, that's what we're going to do. And I will tell you the last thing, and I'm going to sit myself down. I told some young people today, I say honesty and effort goes a long way in this court now with me as presiding judge. All right? I'm here in support of the judges we have because all of them feel the same way. Honesty and effort goes a long way. And those of you who are in the community, you know that I don't take pride in having to lock anybody up. That's not the purpose of court. Do I try to correct some behavior when I think that somebody needs to sit down and think about where their life is headed? Yeah. That is my vision. And it will continue to be as long as I am a judge. Forget the title, presiding, whatever. It makes no difference to me. From day one, that has been my policy and my goal, and that's what my efforts are. So that's what I would say to you citizens, and if you ever come into my court, you can send, anybody that is unknown to me to observe, and I think some of you can speak to how I've conducted myself as a judge and what I stand for and what the other three judges are standing for since we learned a better way of doing things as opposed to the way it's always been done. So if y'all have any questions, I'll answer.
Thank you. Okay, more questions?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Westery, I want to say, I came in your courtroom about 3 months ago to watch. I guess I was astonished. The leeway that you gave on people, black, white, red, it don't matter to me. The leeway that person after person, your question to them was, have you done your community service? No. Why? Have you made a payment? No. Why? And your response was, I would like to see this individual in 3 more weeks. It was amazing to watch it. And these people that I think, and you don't even know I was there, I came and watched. They owed thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to the court in the city of Montgomery. And they could not make a payment to the city of Montgomery for $25. But yet you would re-see them in 3 weeks to find out if they were on track to do what they wanted to do. So I've seen it firsthand, Judge. And I mean, I want to commend you on how you ran your courtroom. And I don't know how patience-wise you can do it, because I know it's got to be tough, but you did a great job. But I came and I wanted to see it.
Mm-hmm. And once again,
Councilor Green, may I just interject? I've been
let
raising.
me ask you
You've already talked.
Okay. And once again, what's before us, once again, is Les Hayes. And if I'm, so I can sum it up, Les Hayes did not start this that program. Is that correct?
Talking about commuting sentences?
Yes.
No, sir.
All right. Also, Les Hayes during that time was not the only one. It was basically a standard practice for all
No,
of them.
sir.
Okay.
I mean, the bottom line is this. When I came onto the bench, I had had my 12 years experience as a public defender. I had represented citizens and what have you. And I can honestly say it did not start with Judge Hayes.
Right.
And I've commuted individuals that I thought were misrepresenting their financial means and what have you.
Okay, one more question. Why was Judge Hayes then singled out to be the one to do the plea deal and all the rest of them got off? Is there any insight you can provide us into that if you can?
I can't answer that question, no, sir.
Okay, I'll just try, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find out why, but I think you answered all the other questions, so, but appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Got any other
Got a
questions?
question?
Thank you. The implementation,
Sir?
the implementation to
Okay.
rectify or fix the problem, are you saying that Mr. Hayes spearheaded that as a presiding judge and did that before this litigation, or?
He initiated those changes before the suspension, and then I was appointed as interim presiding judge. I continued with the changes, and then I was appointed back in October as the presiding judge, and we continued to follow the changes that came about as a result of the lawsuits. And I will say this, as a result of the lawsuits, there are other cities in the state of Alabama that have implemented the same things that were initiated with our court. So I saw a young man today, he has a plan, I want to say it was in Dothan, had some tickets. They now have implemented payment plans. His was a little higher than ours. Ours is $25 a month. His was $100 per month. But that just shows you the changes that have come about. And I'm not saying that those are not changes that had to occur to accommodate the least of these, but those changes are present now, and we are going to continue with those changes.
Thank you.
Okay, Judge, I want to add that prior to Judge suspension, which I think was truly warranted, his suspension on that, but prior to, I talked with him and the clerk, Ken Nixon.
Yes, sir.
I had talked with them about the amnesty program. We had a 2-day amnesty where Judge Hayes initiated, and he also cleared free of charge. People did not have to pay a dime, but their entire driving record full of tickets were expunged. And there was over 300 people who had did not pay a dime, but they had a clean slate of driving record.
Mm-hmm.
That was prior to his suspension. And like I say, his suspension was well deserved. It was served out. But I think that those are some of the points that was missing in here, where people did not realize and did not recognize that particular deed that he had done. I am thankful because there were over 300 people who did not have to pay a dime, and some of those people were put in jail. But they ended up with a clean record. But nobody mentioned anything about that. But that was a 2-day amnesty that I pretty much came under fire for, finding out who all had tickets, and I was calling up everybody to come out here and make certain that you get your ticket taken care of. But there were over 300 people who had a clean slate because of what Judge Hayes had done.
Thank you very much.
Well,
this got a question. Y'all got a question, Judge?
No, can we
Okay.
call up the
Okay.
first one? Let's go.
I want to call for the question. I call for the question. No more conversation? Conversation's over?
Have you brought it up?
It's over. Sit back down, please.
Mr.
Sit
President.
down. Sit down.
Mr.
No,
President.
you can stand for both. No, get away from this. You're not going to speak.
Mr.
Back up.
President.
Back up. Yes, sir.
Move to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
I didn't get, who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Okay.
It's number one. Let's
Number
go.
one, item number one.
Seven yeses.
All opposed? All.
Abstain.
You're abstaining.
2 abstentions. Simple. Okay,
No,
next
one
item.
extension. One extension and one opposed.
Yeah, okay. You got them? Thank you very much. Okay, item number 2.
Item 2, resolution reappointing Virgil Ford as municipal judge.
Move to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
8,
All abstentions?
1.
1 abstention. Okay. Item number 3.
Item 3, resolution reappointing David Vickers as municipal judge.
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
8.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
before we move
You
forward,
already finished
can I
up.
bring-
You finished on all those
Abstain.
things. Yes, sir. Please leave. Please leave. That's over with.
I want to bring something to the council's attention of Attorney General Opinion 98-00134. A citizen does not have an unbridled right to express his or her views at a public meeting. Public comments during a meeting remain subject to reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions, and I think we need to keep that in
Yeah,
mind for
please leave.
future hearings.
Okay, let's go to number 3. We voted on number 3 yet?
Yes, sir. There were 8 yeses and 1 abstention, Mr. Mayor.
May I state something?
Mr. Bell?
Whenever there's an appearance of impropriety, it would be one. I'm a lawyer. I go before these judges, and there has been some insinuation that when you go down there, the judge is going to give certain people, because they're on the city council, certain privileges. Never asked the judge for a privilege. None of the municipal judges has ever given me. I wouldn't put them in that predicament. But because, as lawyers, it's not the impropriety, it's the appearance of impropriety. And I want them to know that when I started coming back down there before them, that in no way that do I expect anything, and not suggesting that they are, but I will abstain from it.
Yes, but and appreciate you doing
Like I
that.
done
Okay.
before.
Let's go to item 4.
Mr. President, item 4, hearing on proposed ordinance rezoning property located at 327 Corey Street from a B2 district to a B1B district.
Need a motion? Need a motion?
No, we gotta have public hearing, Mr. President.
Public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a public hearing. You don't like to speak against this item, please come forward. Seeing none, declare public hearing been held. Proper for the council. I got it. Need a motion?
Is this old business or new business?
It's
I don't
old
know
business.
about it. It is old business. I move for adoption.
Have a motion to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Ordinance is adopted. Item 5, hearing on proposed ordinance rezoning one parcel of land located at 428 West Jeff Davis Avenue from an O1 district to a B2 district.
Mr. Tyson?
Mr. President, the Planning Commission recommended the rezoning of this property, and the intended use, if it's rezoned, is for office space and a banquet hall.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone would like to speak against this item, please come forward. Seeing none, declare the public hearing's been held. The clerk will call the council. Need a motion?
Mr. President, move to adopt.
A motion to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Ordinance is adopted. Item 6, ordinance authorizing the disposition of real property located at 1751 E.D. Nixon Avenue to Alethea House Incorporated for construction of senior housing units using HUD home funds.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir. This is basically an ordinance for the disposition of 1751 E.D. Nixon Avenue to our community housing development organization, Alethea House, for the purposes of senior housing using our HUD home funds.
Need a motion to suspend the rules.
Move to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Item 7, ordinance granting approval to Child Protect Incorporated to construct, install, and maintain an asphalt paving parking lot along with associated drive aisles and curb and gutter with existing 15-foot storm drainage easement associated with Janetta Ditch Culvert at 935 South Perry Street.
Need a motion to suspend the rules.
Move to adopt. No, do we need to suspend the rules?
Have a motion to suspend the rules. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Ordinance is adopted. Item 8, ordinance granting approval to Key West Enterprises to construct, install, and maintain concrete paving over a portion of right-of-way of Parker Street.
Need a motion to suspend the rules.
Move to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Move to adopt.
Motion to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Ordinance is adopted. Item 9, ordinance authorizing the issuance and making provision for the payment of 32 million general obligation warrants refunding 2013 recycling bonds.
Mr. Crabb.
Yes, these are bonds that were issued in 2013 to build a recycling facility. We want to refund those bonds, not issue any new debt, and look to save in the range of $3 million over the life of the bonds.
Need a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Ordinance is adopted.
Thank you.
Item 10, application for a lounge retail liquor class 2 package license, doing business as Four Stop Tobacco and Beverage, 1410 Mobile Road.
Your name for the record, sir.
Chris Hargett.
Now, Chris, this is a public hearing, and would like to speak against this item, please come forward. Seeing none, declare the public hearing's been held. Mr. Parker, full council, need a motion?
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Got another one, Chris?
Item 11, application for retail beer and retail table wine off premises only, doing business as Quick Serve at 4000 Troy Highway.
Representative Quick, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Your name?
Ravi Bilaria.
Yes, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone want to speak against this item, please come forward. Seeing none, declare the public hearing's been held. Call for the council. Need a motion? Fred?
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is
Good luck with your
adopted.
business, sir.
You ought to always call your councilman first.
Item 12, application for an alternative transportation service by Terrence K. Boyd, doing business as alternate route, 1460 Ann Street.
Mr. Terrence Boyd here, please. Mr. Boyd, your name for the record, please.
Terrence K. Boyd.
Okay, Mr. Boyd. Now, what are you going to do? What's this alternate route for?
It's a bridge essentially between public transportation and private transportation.
Okay.
I plan on operating at half the cost of Uber, Lyft, or a taxi here.
Very good. Okay. Any other questions, gentlemen? Need a motion to suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Good luck with your
Resolution is
business, sir.
adopted.
Thank you.
All right.
Item 13, a resolution declaring public nuisances, authorizing abatement and assessing cost of abatement of public nuisances on various lots.
Mr. Carr, talk to us about this item.
Yes, we wanted to give the council and the mayor a report on
Fiscal year to date, the complaints that we've handled are 2,730, and the violations that have been there are 2,045. We're asking for your approval to abate 89 properties tonight.
89.
Yes, sir. And then for an update, Mike, if you will, please. There you go. Thank you. On this slide here, you're seeing the properties that were abated and liened for the 2/6 council date. So this is the council that you approved the properties. There was approximately, I believe the number was about 67. Of those 67, 30 of them wound up going to the lien status. So if you look in the right-hand column, there's a total at the bottom, and that's the total amount of liens, 30 properties, and these are the names of the property owners and the addresses in which were liened.
$7,400.
Excuse me?
$7,400?
7,436.
Huh?
7,000.
Yeah, $7,400.
Yes, sir.
$7,400. Yeah.
Is that the amount of money that has been expended on abatements for these properties?
For these properties is 2,900. That's in the second column from the end.
What does the 7436 represent?
I'm sorry?
What does the number 7436 represent?
That's the amount of liens. That's the total cost of the liens that were filed in probate.
Okay.
That's the recovery number.
And those would be properties that have been abated by the city or by an abatement agent?
That is correct.
All right.
And we didn't get any money for them.
We filed liens on them. They've gone through the complete process. These are
Now it goes to court.
these are properties which have not complied and have had to be acted upon.
Okay, good deal. All right.
3,000 paid.
It's sad, $7,400 lost.
When
Yes, sir.
Okay, Council, thank you.
when we do this in the future, can we make it more clear that these are people who have not complied and whose properties have been abated by the city or by an abatement agent that has been paid by the city, so that the people in the audience will know, and certainly the television audience will know, who the offenders are, who these people are that are contributing to the blight and the uncut lots and the litter and the debris in our city?
Yes, sir. We'll do our best to enhance it as we go along.
Very good point, Mr. Larkin. We need to get that out to everybody. Okay. News media, y'all don't want to hear
Suspend
that.
the rules.
They've been gone.
They've been gone. Okay.
Move to suspend the
We have-
rules.
What?
We hadn't voted on it yet.
Hadn't
Move
voted.
to suspend the rules.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous?
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Now, you got two more
Mr.
items?
President, yeah. Okay, go ahead. No, that's all right. Go ahead. I've got an ordinance that we passed out during the work session dealing with some property that owned by the waterworks. Which one do we want to do first? Does it matter?
Aronoff Avenue.
And
Ordinance consenting to disposal of certain real property by the Water Works and Sanitary Sewer Board between Aronoff Avenue and Hanville Road to Concrete by Design LLC.
Okay. Need a motion to suspend the rules?
Move to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Ordinance is
I'm
adopted.
abstaining because I don't know what it's about, so I'm going to abstain. I'm not going to, I wasn't
It's
there.
going to be 6 with 1 abstention. Mr. Bell.
Mr. Bell, this is property that we have to approve the waterworks selling.
Okay, okay. It's just because I wasn't in the work session.
That's right, you weren't there.
Are you still abstaining or you're changing to a yes?
I never abstain. Well, to the extent I abstain, I'm going to change. I had my hand halfway up.
Halfway.
Unanimous.
He's happy.
The ordinance is adopted.
Mr. President, I have another ordinance, if clerk would read it.
Ordinance consenting to disposal of certain real property by the Water Works and Sanitary Sewer Board at H&R Point, Lot 69, to Mir Sam LLC.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Move to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Quickly, tell me what was discussed back there. So, nothing. Cost the city no money.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Ordinance is adopted. And council, I have put before you contingency funds for your approval that Mayor Strange has approved. For District 2, 300 to Optimist Club International for Central Montgomery Optimist Club. District 6, 500 to March of Dimes. District 7, 500 to March of Dimes.
District 5, I'd like to give 500 to Young Achievers. I think that's it.
500.
I think it was Youth Achievers, more Young Achievers.
Yes. In District 2, I'd like to do 500 to the YMCA Achievers Program and 500 to the Lee High School softball program.
For girls softball.
Yes, ma'am.
May I?
Yes, sir.
You go on, Mr. Balaji. I saw you peeping around. I'm gonna let you go on first.
Thank you very much.
All right.
District 1 would like to do $500 to the Y Achievers program, and would like to do the $500 to the girls softball team at Lee High School.
Now, may I?
Thank you.
You may.
To the extent that there are available funds, in District 6, I would like to request 800 for Shepherd's Ministries. I think they do a good job. 800 for West Montgomery Renaissance Neighborhood Association. $500 for Manna Ministries, Inc.
Manna Ministries.
Yes, ma'am. I see Mr. Alon Mitchell back there. I think $500 for MPS Truancy Program. $500 for Ellsmead Association. I don't think I got this much, but let's make them happy anyway. $500 for Fair Meadows Neighborhood Association. $500 for Macedonia Neighborhood Association. $500 for Regency Community Association. $300 for the...
Slow down just a minute.
Oh, I'm too
500
fast.
to Regency what?
Community Association. Last time I put Regency Park, and they said they're not Regency Park. They are Regency Community Association, Neighborhood Association. Then $300 for the Optimist Club.
I also would like to add $1,000 to the Ridgecrest Neighborhood Association. $1,000 to...
Wait, y'all gonna have to slow down a little bit. 1,002.
Ridgecrest, you got Ridgecrest, right?
Yes, sir.
Then 1,000 to Southern Meadows Neighborhood Association. And then 500 to the MPS Truancy Program.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
District 7, 500 to the Optimist Club, 500 to the
Achievers.
the Achievers, yes, ma'am. And then also 500 to Southeastern Y. And then,
Southeastern YMCA.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then 700, excuse me, 750 to, Barry, you might have to help on this, but the Public Art Commission for the library benches that Ashley talked to us about. So I'm not sure exactly where that is, but to that group, we got 750, please.
Public art.
Is that all we need to get 750?
Yeah.
You got that one. I did that already.
What? I'm sorry.
I did that one out of my room. Okay,
Is that
anybody
all?
else? Mr. Pruitt?
No, sir, but I'll be willing to paint those benches for $750. I'll do them for $695 a piece.
And you can hire me.
Okay, I need a motion to approve this.
Just 1 second. Mr. Mayor, you okay with these?
I heard a couple that Councilman Bell called out that I'm not familiar with, but I'm assuming that you'll check to see that we've got the appropriate paperwork.
Yes, sir. I will.
You know, some of the earlier ones he
We'll make
talked
it
about.
subject to required paperwork.
Like,
Retaliation.
Motion to adopt.
Mr. President, before we take the vote, I do have a request from District 3
Oh, I'm sorry.
that I just handed to the clerk.
Okay, for District 3, $1,000 to Central Montgomery Optimist Club, $700 to King Hill Community Development Corporation, $500 to YMCA Achievers, and $500 to Robert E. Lee Girls Softball.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to ask Mr. Mitchell if I might ask for this indulgence, Mr. President. Do you have a timeline, Mr. Mitchell, for your truancy donations?
He can't hear you.
He's on the phone.
Mr. Mitchell?
He was on the telephone.
Mr. Larkin, have a question. Do you have a
I
timeline
should just
on your
ignore him.
donations?
We actually won't reward the students until the end of May. We will have a district-wide celebration, and that time, we'll reward them the money.
So you need the money at the end of May?
Not the end of May, but by the end of April. At the least.
Withdraw mine.
End of April, okay.
Yes.
May 1. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we got you. Very good. Thank you. Anything else?
We need to vote. We need to vote.
I know I fixed that. I was just waiting to get everybody in there. Okay, we're voting on the motion. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Okay.
This is yours or mine?
All right. Next time. Too late. Next year. Okay. Okay, in public communications of non-agenda items.